For until I can be grateful
truly,
for what happened,
for who I am now,
for the map of my existence,
I will not be healed.
Don't know where I will go. Don't know the road for me.
no matter what path you're on, you really don't know where you're going, and you don't know where you're going to end up.
Just want to look ahead instead of looking at history.
As I'm coming back, I'm coming down Richmond, and a young man is coming the opposite way on Richmond and decides to jump in front of me and turn left. And so as I enter the intersection of Richmond and Montrose, there's headlights right in front of me. I tried to lift to push on the brakes, but it happened so quickly. My sensation was of just flying up out of my seat, and I heard someone screaming in the back seat, and I knew I was alone. And I realized it was me screaming in the back seat, and I was kind of intrigued by that. It was like time slowed down. And as I flew up on my seat, and then when we came back down, I felt like I inflated. I felt like it inflated, and I looked down, and I saw my hands, and my hands looked like little fetus hands, and I was like, what's going on? And I couldn't move. And I had luckily just learned a meditation technique. It was actually an affirmation, which is, I'm grateful for this journey. I'm grateful for wherever I'm going. So I just began to breathe and say that to myself as the man who was the passenger in the other car who hit me came to the side and spoke to me. He said, would you turn off the car? And I was like, I can't move. And he said, there's gas, turn off the car. And so he opened the door as much as he could, and he turned it off. And I just kept breathing until I heard the ambulance come. And when they pulled me out of the car, they put a board under me. I don't know how they did this, because again, I was in this position. I couldn't really see anything. As I came out of the car, I could look up, and I realized I didn't have my glasses on. And I was like, my glasses, like that was the most important thing, and I could see the other car and got into the ambulance, still kind of breathing, and starting to feel uncomfortable at that point. The back of an ambulance is an extremely uncomfortable ride. It's like being in a pickup. And I remember the man in the ambulance saying something that was, to let me know this is not a good situation. I get to the emergency room, and it's, you're watching the ceiling as you go in, and they proceeded to cut off my clothes, and I had bought this jacket that I really liked. It was amazing how I was like, my glasses, my jacket. I was thinking, oh, don't cut my jacket, In fact, I think the guys cut the jacket when I was in the car to get this neck thing on me. But I remember being there, and they'd cut off all my clothes, and the doctors or nurses or whoever were just standing around watching me, and I remember thinking, where are the people that are on those television shows? That's what I wanted, those caring, compassionate, handsome individuals. And the next, I must have been going in and out, because then I remember my brother being there, or my son being there, my neighbor Richard, my neighbor Diana. And then at some point, a doctor saying to me, they went and did an MRI or something, I was in some sort of machine. It was all very surreal. This doctor saying, well, you have a broken neck. And I remember saying, well, what does that mean? And she goes, you may be like this for the rest of your life. And I just said, no.
At this crossroad, I must decide. Stay planted and hypnotized.
When we first saw Mom after the accident, she was lying down, and none of her functions were controlled by her. I mean, she could breathe, and but lifting herself, lifting arms, and lifting anything was beyond her control. And she's slowly but surely gaining that back, and that was a big part of her, moving into her own apartment and having her space. She's and she continues to surprise us all with how she can grow and just go, look what I'm doing now. In spite of the doctors saying, I can't, the doctors will not say you can walk again in 6 months. they'll say, no, don't expect anything. You won't walk. And maybe that's to make you mad and get you inspired, because it certainly worked in Mom's case. She's shown them a great deal, and she's not going to stop. She's going to keep going until she gets what she wants. And I know that what she wants to do is to be independent, to be her independent self, and walking and moving about and doing all of the things she loves.
We'll move forward, straight ahead.
The thing that makes Liz unique is her relationship between her mind and her body. I learned a lot about the relationship between mind and body dealing with Liz. I remember when I met Liz, she was a backpacking person that just took off across France. You know, she was so energetic. You know, she was always on the move. She had the next trip. She spent the summers in France. I was like, ooh, how exciting. You know, so, and then I remember when she had the wreck. And I got the call. And I remember my friend saying, you know, Liz was in a terrible car wreck. It's bad. And then she said, she broke her neck. And when I got off the phone, I was like, now what does that mean? Because I had never had anyone to go through such an injury. So I remember getting up the next day, and I went down Fannin and picked up some flowers, got these flowers. I said, I'm going to go over here and see about this girl. And I remember walking in the room, and Liz was laying out there, and I was like, damn. You know, that's what I said to her. I looked at her, and I said, damn. And she smiled. She smiled at me. I put the flowers down and sat down, and it was the beginning of a really amazing journey. One of the things I noticed when I was there, after about a week or two, they were using what was called a Hoyer lift. And I remember how she rejected that lift. That lift made it easy for everybody, but it was hard on her. They would catch the ends together and heist her up, and there was a hydraulic lift kind of a thing, and she come up like a big ball of oil. She hated it, and her butt was sticking out in the hole. It was like, I hate this. And so she outlawed it, you know. I don't want this. And she explained to me that the reason she didn't want it, because if she allowed her body to hang in that, it would forget how to be useful. And she wanted to use everything. Move it, move it. You know, so she had an array of people around her that helped her move it and stand up and teach her some skills. And she was just so forward, man. She was just so forward. And I remember her giving her body parts names, you know, calling on everybody to come on. You know? And every day it was something different. It was something new. Some toe wiggled or something. They said that she would never use the restroom. That's not true. Liz is in control. But that's because she never allowed them. She didn't believe what they told her. And I couldn't understand her not believing what they told her, and your neck is broken. But she was right. She was absolutely right. And now Liz is driving again, and I'm like, you show them, girl, you know? And she never once gave up. Even now, if I go over there now, she'll show me something that she noticed, something that twitched, something to indicate to her that it's waking up. I believe that Liz will come around and make the steps and walk out to that truck. It's just a matter of time.
A trail to blaze, finding my way.
The mind wants to work. The body wants to move. The spirit wants to fly.
Sarah and I had worked before when I invited her to work on a women's works project. She brought in a dance. And she contacted me after my accident and asked me if I would be willing to collaborate. At the time, I was writing in a journal. In the beginning, in the hospital, I had to have people write for me. So I started looking at what people had written for me and things that I was starting to write and started shaping them into poetry. And then she and I collaborated, and she danced while I performed the poetry. It was very, very helpful in my healing because it really pushed me. It was this first push to see, could I still write again? Could I get out there? Could I rehearse again? It was a physical challenge, and I really, really am grateful for her enthusiasm and her ideas.
The mind wants to walk, the body wants to move, the spirit wants to fly.
Liz is she's inspirational. She's quite a character. She's got an amazing passion for life. When I first met Liz, when she came into therapy, you could just tell she had her goals in mind. She's very driven, and she is not ready to quit with her recovery. She is always going, always moving forward.
What kind of therapeutic techniques did you use with Liz?
With Liz, I happened to see Liz as an outpatient. She came specifically for something called a locomotor training clinic. It's called the Neuro Recovery Network that we have here at Tier Memorial Hermann. And so it's specifically focused on getting her into a body weight support treadmill environment and looking at trying to kind of what I like to call reboot her nervous system and work towards recovery of walking, recovery of her nervous system, recovery of movement.
So you talked about rebooting the nervous system.
Yeah.
That part.
Rebooting the nervous system. So we put her up in a treadmill environment and we use locomotor training techniques. We basically put them in a body weight support system, and then we have a retraining component where we move her legs, move her hips, move her trunk in a normal movement pattern, and we kind of use that to say, nervous system, this is the way walking and movement is supposed to work. Please remember. And then we slow things down and we see if it does remember, and then we take her off the treadmill and we work just in our normal gravity everyday environment, and we see what changes that can occur to her nervous system. What can she move? What can she change? What can she strengthen? Different movement patterns.
Life is different, c'est la vie. I make my life work for me. Not gonna let things get me down. My mind is planted in the ground.
After the accident, when she had a couple of choices, she could surrender to her disability and give up, or she could struggle against it and turn it into material not only for her life and experience to give that depth and meaning, but turn it into her work so that she can share the wonder of all of that with the rest of us. And in that capacity, Liz has few equals and no parallels.
I'm moving here, I'm moving there. The wind is blowing through my hair.
This is a super pole, which I had installed, and I first discovered it at Tier in the bathroom there. What's nice about it is it lifts up and goes all the way around 360 degrees, so if you're in bed you can use it, or if you're outside of the bed you can use it to get in bed. But it saved me about 5 hours of caregiving time because I learned how to get myself out of bed, and I can use it to stand up and practice balancing and things like that.
What about the discussion you and Diana Weeks had about pole dancing?
Oh yes, we decided that this would be really nice for me to work on my skills as a pole dancer. Thought there's always room in my life for some additional employment. I could become a pole dancer. First handicapped pole dancer in Houston, perhaps. Just have to work on my costume.
Get out my way and let me through. Got to let my artist groove.
The mind wants to work, the body wants to move, the spirit wants to fly.
Conference today was sponsored by ATRI, and they do education for therapists and people that work in the water. It was a spinal cord class working with people with spinal cords in the water and different techniques that one uses. Liz volunteered to come and help demonstrate because it's much different working with someone with a spinal cord, working in the water rather than practicing on each other. So she volunteered her time and came in and helped us out.
What makes Liz a unique person?
Liz is unique in because she is so determined and she's positive and she's taken this experience and used it as a learning experience and has helped other people. When I get newly injured people and Liz is in the water, I always have them talk to Liz because she has a positive outlook on things. Has told people, well, I couldn't used to do this, and now I'm doing this and this and this. And she takes every opportunity. Liz does weight training, she does Pilates, she's tried everything, so she's very open to everything.
Mind wants to walk, the body wants to move, the spirit wants to fly.
I have learned, especially with what this happened, courage. But I had already learned before through the relationship and through the things she achieved and was able to get. Like she got a grant from the mayor that allowed us, her and Diana and myself and an actor to go to the International Women's Playwright Conference in Athens, Greece, present a script by her with the other actors and myself, and be part of that. And she said, I'm going to get it. And she just persevered and persevered. And you see that same quality in her now, and a totally different circumstance. But she was always like that. It's going to come through, it's going to come through. And she fought and insisted and persisted and got it. And it was, I gave that example as one, but there were many. The same with even Tolstoy is Dead. That play, she got the space, she got the director, she got the actor, and she worked on her script. And when she had an idea that she thought was worthwhile, she would go through with it. Other things that I learned is to be patient with your creativity, because I also write, and it's the part of my participation in the theater world that is probably the one that I have less explored the least. And seeing how she comes up with ideas and thoughts and inspiration. Before she had the accident, she used to teach workshops where she just brought wonderful ideas and inspired us to write things that we would never have imagined that we were able to write.
What did you learn from this experience?
Be careful with your time.
What did you learn from this experience?
You never know where life will lead you.
What
Good morning, my name's Peter Durkin, and I want to talk about Liz a little bit this morning. I didn't know her before the search team was formed, and she and I are both left-handed. I will say that first. We represented the left-handers on the church. There was 2 of us on the 7-member search team, and I was just so impressed with her tenacity. She, in spite of her special physical challenges, she made all our meetings. She would take the light rail. She would hosted an event in her home, and I also enjoyed her sense of humor and her vision, and also that when we talked about candidates in the church and things like that, she came to it from a special spiritual point of view, which I thought was very unique and added value to our deliberations. She's got a nice sense of humor, and We had a lot of fun on our trips, going to the neutral pulpits, and I'm just impressed with, I think she taught our team a lot about how important it is to have somebody who has a special challenge, how we need to be mindful of it. And for me personally, what came across was how difficult it is to get around in the city or in motels and churches and restaurants, and that we should be more mindful of somebody who is in a wheelchair and wants to participate fully, how we need to make that easy for them. And I think it was really valuable for all of us that she taught us a very important lesson. And during the course of the search, she also got her car and learned how to drive that. So we had nice personal achievements during the course of the search. This was a year-long effort, and so I think Liz brought something very special to us, and we learned a lot from her, and also I think we found a great candidate for our church, and I think Liz was critical to those conversations and deliberations. She didn't miss any meetings, didn't say I got an alibi here or an excuse. She showed up, and I just enjoy her company. So I give her a big fist bump.
What did you learn from this experience?
Honor your time.
So when the doctor said, okay, you can't do this, you'll never be able to do this, whatever, she was still thinking, I will run on the beach. And, I think that her being dismissive of their reality was helpful in her being able to cope with the reality that she has now, and to construct a new reality.
What did you learn?
Live in the moment. In your dreams, you can walk, easy and hard as flying. You had 52 years standing on your own 2 feet, give or take a few. Those braces on your legs when you were 6, and of course, being infant in arms. Until these past 2 seasons of forced immobility, you were, still are, a dancer, prancer, glancer, take a chancer, entrancer, romancer of people and of words. Migrating waterbird trapped in too sudden ice on a murky lake, in dire enchantment. Not ugly duckling waiting to transform, but free-form swan caught in suspended flight. You will rise from your cage of steel and wheels to music you can hear, sonorous and sweet. For we too dream of you, walking, yes, and dancing, always dancing. We see you in the islands of our minds, imagine you flying through brilliant white feathered night, darkness into light, possibility into perception, elegant as stars, space spinning into place.